On the day of the party, I took my drunk best friend to her own room, but my childhood friend mistook me for her. A night of chaos. Everyone said that I deliberately tried to come between him and my best friend, so much so that even after marriage, I tried everything but couldn't warm his heart. Until I accidentally overheard him talking on the phone on the street. As long as I can avenge Juna, I'm willing to spend my whole life holding Joy Jen back. Otherwise, who would want to marry her? She wants a child, doesn't she? I'll make sure she never gets her wish. The blaring horn behind him interrupted his conversation. I instinctively turned around and saw him at the corner. He immediately ran toward me with a panicked expression. The next moment, I was hit by a car and sent flying. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day of the gathering. This time, I decided to step aside for him and my best friend. 1. The fact that I had feelings for my childhood friend was something only my best friend knew. When I saw my childhood friend drunk and barely conscious, pinning me against the wall again, my eyes darkened, and I immediately took him to my best friend's room. The moment Juna Lin's door was opened, I shoved Griff Fu right into her arms. He needs you right now. Juna Lin was stunned for a moment, then took Griff Fu from my hands and gave me a mocking smile. Joy Jen. Have you finally come to your senses? That's right. After all, Griff is the one who truly likes me. Why would you humiliate yourself like this? You've been rejected so many times before, yet you still cling to him like a desperate admirer. Do you have no self-respect? Hearing this, I instinctively clenched my fingers. Even after 2 lifetimes, even though I've already decided to let go, in their true love story, it can still so easily break my heart like this. In the previous life, Juna Lin held my hand and said we were best friends, so she invited me and my childhood friend to a beach vacation, and I was soft-hearted and agreed. As a result, the two of them flirted in every possible way, while I carried their luggage, working tirelessly like a servant. That night, Griff Fu drank too much and couldn't recognize people clearly. Right after I sent the person back to the room, that incident happened. Out of a sense of responsibility and pressure from my family, we got engaged. However, Lin Yang committed suicide in our marital home. But in this life, I don't want to have any involvement with the two of them anymore. I curled my lips and replied, he has always liked you, and I won't bother you anymore. After saying that, I turned around and left the hotel. The memories this hotel brought were just too awful. Thinking about what I had gone through in my previous life, tears streamed down uncontrollably. Only after I had cried out all the grievances from both lifetimes did I make a phone call. Aunt, I agree to immigrate to Canada, and as for the arranged marriage you mentioned before, I agree to that too. My aunt's voice on the other end was filled with pleasant surprise. Great, Joy, you've finally come around. I'll arrange to bring you over right away. By the way, does Griff know about this? She sighed helplessly. Joy, I'm not trying to lecture you. But Griff Fu is your childhood friend, not your guardian. You're all grown up now and need to have your own judgment. We can't keep troubling him all the time. All you're doing is causing trouble for Griff. Out of respect for our family, Griff Fu won't take action against you. But I'm also worried about you being alone back home. What's more, he already has someone he likes. I numbly and bitterly forced a smile. Yes, so I will never like him again. The next day, I returned very late. Last night, I really didn't want to stay at the hotel, so I went to a small inn nearby. Little did I know I would catch a chill, and my mind would become muddled from a high fever. Just back at the hotel, I heard the news of Griff Fu and Juna Lin's marriage. Griff Fu's silk bathrobe was crumpled beyond recognition. With ambiguous red marks all over his skin, Juna Lin was draped in a large bathrobe, showing off her impressive figure. The two were inseparable, kissing on the sofa as if no one else was around, and Griff Fu occasionally fed Juna Lin breakfast from the table. Seeing me return, Juna Lin raised an eyebrow and resumed her usual best friend demeanor with me. Joy, Griff personally cooked breakfast, and it tastes really good. But I suppose you must have gotten tired of it long ago. My footsteps paused, a sharp pain piercing my heart, but I forced myself to clench my fingers and stay calm. Although the Fu family adopted me, Griff Fu has never cooked for me. The only time was when I was a child, running a high fever and crying in a daze, saying I wanted to eat the porridge my mother used to make. Griff Fu struggled for a long time before clumsily cooking a bowl of porridge for me, even though he was only a few years older than me. Even though he mistook sugar for salt and the rice was undercooked, I cherished that memory for the rest of my life. But after getting to know Juna Lin, Griff Fu specifically signed up for cooking classes, trying all sorts of breakfasts, dinners, and desserts to please her in various ways. With an expressionless face, Griff Fu wiped Juna Lin's lips with a handkerchief and instructed, "Juna Lin likes the villa in the southern part of the city and wants to use it as our wedding home. We plan to renovate and refurbish it soon. As for you," I lowered my head, a weight pressing down on my heart. I knew he wanted to tell me that it was his marital home with Juna Lin, and it wasn't suitable for an outsider like me to stay there anymore, urging me to move out soon. After living there for over a decade, I had ultimately become an outsider in that house, I hummed in response, holding back the bitterness as I replied, "I'll move out as soon as possible." "Brother." Hearing this address, Griff Fu's movements froze, his trembling pupils filled with disbelief. Ever since I mustered the courage to confess my feelings to him at 18, I refused to call him brother anymore. He had angrily scolded me, forbidding me from having such improper thoughts about him. But I was stubborn too, clenching my teeth and never changing how I addressed him. Griff Fu asked in a trembling voice, "What did you call me?" I remained silent, but Juna Lin promptly interrupted our conversation. "Griff and I are lovers, and you grew up in his family." She pinched Griff Fu's waist and gave me a light, airy smile. "So after we get married, what should she call me?" Griff Fu didn't answer, he was just looking at me with a very complex and conflicted expression. I paused for a moment, then pursed my lips and added, "Sister-in-law." At that, even Juna Lin's smug expression froze. I went back to my room on my own. Feeling miserable from the high fever, I collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep. Just then, Griff Fu caught up with me. He stood coldly blocking the doorway, looking down at me as he declared, "I don't care what you're thinking right now, but Juna Lin and I are getting married. Don't even think about trying any tricks, otherwise, I will never let you off." But how is he going to not let me off? Is it when Juna Lin deliberately spilled hot soup all over me, yet forced me to kneel in the rain to apologize to her? Or is it when Juna Lin intentionally pushed me down the stairs, causing me to bleed from a head injury, and then locked me up until I admitted to slandering her? My past love for Griff Fu was the poison I drank to quench my thirst, but I've learned my lesson now, and I'm going to try to love myself, I replied calmly. "I see." Griff Fu fell silent again. Seemingly surprised by my calmness, which made him uneasy, I finally managed to get some time off for a vacation this time. "Tomorrow, you could join us," I interrupted him promptly. "You two go ahead." Meeting Griff Fu's stunned gaze, I forced a faint smile. "It's rare for you two to have some alone time together. I shouldn't intrude. Besides, there's something I need to take care of at home, so I'll head back first." I didn't stay long and quickly packed my things to return to the Fu residence. Griff Fu and Juna Lin directly turned this hot spring trip into their pre-wedding honeymoon vacation. Juna Lin kept sending me messages, sometimes showing fruits that Griff Fu personally cut for her. "Brother Griff is so considerate. Being able to marry a man like him is a blessing I've cultivated over 8 lifetimes. Don't you think?" Sometimes it was a picture of Griff Fu holding a basin of hot water, squatting on the ground to wash her feet. "The male god you've been dreaming of is washing my feet right now." Did he ever do that for you when you were a child? Juna Lin always knows how to strike right at my heart, but she doesn't know that Griff Fu used to be this good to me too. He was always busy with work, flying between domestic and international cities. Once, I just had a nightmare and my voice sounded a bit tense and low when I called him, so he immediately ended his meeting and flew back to accompany me after several hours on a flight. When I was in school, I was targeted and bullied by a gang of troublemakers from outside the school. They just slapped me across the face and threatened me to give them money. Griff Fu found out about it. He was already in critical condition due to a heart attack and urgently needed surgery to save his life. Yet, with a pale face and clutching his chest, he still came to the school to stand up for me. Everything came to an abrupt end when I confessed my feelings to him at the age of 18. Griff Fu's social media feed is also bustling, with the daily must-have 9-square grid almost entirely filled with sweet photos of him and Juna Lin. He used to scold me with a gloomy face, telling me not to play those childish emotional games with him. But now, holding an ice cream and leaning on Juna Lin's shoulder, his radiant smile makes him look like a young boy deeply in love. I silently stared at his face in the photo, lowered my head, and tears fell onto my phone, blurring into hazy patches. At that moment, The phone suddenly vibrated. It was Griff Fu calling. I quickly gathered my thoughts and pressed the answer button. Griff Fu's cold and distant voice came from the other end. "What are you doing?" I glanced at the luggage in the room. Although I had lived in the Fu family for over a decade, the things Griff Fu had given me could fill more than a dozen rooms. But there are truly not many things that belong to me and that I can take away. On the bookshelf, there are over a dozen photo albums. In the past, Griff Fu would often sigh in front of me, saying that he was growing up quickly and that his face would gradually age, so no one would remember how handsome he looked when he was young. So I took a photo of him every day, using my camera and my heart, slowly documenting the traces of his time in the past. Griff Fu was very happy about this and cooperated willingly. But ever since he discovered my feelings for him, in his eyes, I became unreasonable and disgusting. Once, when he came home drunk, he snatched the photo albums from the bookshelf without a word and burned several of them in one go. Now, since he didn't want to see these things, there was no need for me to keep them either. Under the bed, in a box, are the 1,000 letters I wrote to him. It was Griff Fu who told me that if I wanted to find him but couldn't, I should write down the words buried in my heart and send them to him. Because he didn't want to see them, Griff Fu never knew about these letters. And he never needs to know in the future. I only took one set of clothes and a photo with my parents. Walking out of the Fu family villa, I took one last look at the house where Griff Fu and I had weathered storms together for over a decade, then asked him in return, "Do you need something?" Griff Fu snapped impatiently on the other end. "Joy Jen, can you stop bothering Juna Lin from now on? How many times do I have to say that the person I like is Juna Lin before you give up?" I fell silent for a moment and didn't respond. After all, ever since Juna Lin appeared, I had long grown accustomed to such baseless and illogical blame and accusations, and Griff Fu will eventually give me his reason. "When you told me you were going back, I thought you finally got the hint. But it turns out you were playing the retreat to advance card, pretending not to care on one hand, while pestering Juna Lin for information about us on the other. Don't you find that annoying?" I finally opened my mouth and asked in return, "What did you say?" Griff Fu confidently cut off my resistance. "Isn't that true? Juna Lin just went to take a shower, and I saw she sent you many photos in her chat history. Didn't you pester her for them?" If Griff Fu truly understood, he wouldn't fail to see that the reason Juna Lin took those photos was just to show off and provoke me. But that's just how it is when you favor someone. Just as Juna Lin once unexpectedly slapped me in front of him, Griff Fu immediately questioned me about what I had done. I didn't explain, just quietly listened to his outburst. "Joy Jen, when will you finally wake up? Do you enjoy self-torture, or are you addicted to being a simp? What do I have to do to completely shatter your delusions? Do you have any idea how disgusted I am to be pestered by someone like you?" His words pierced my heart, and I felt a moist sensation sliding down. Startled, I reached up to touch my face, only to realize it was already wet with tears, but I still took a deep breath and murmured in reply, "It won't happen again." Griff Fu finally felt a bit more at ease and made a decision. "Juna Lin and I are about to get married, and I don't want any external factors disturbing or damaging our relationship. I originally planned to send you to a branch office for an internship. But now, it seems I can only send you away to another city." I gripped my phone tightly, clenching my teeth hard. Every word he spoke turned into a knife, piercing my heart and leaving it riddled with bloody holes. Once, because my family called me an outsider, he declared me guilty. Now, he treats me as an external factor. I finally sniffled and interrupted what he was about to say next. "No need. As for the job," I paused, deciding to keep him in suspense. "I've already made arrangements. The new company is a bit far, and anyway you two are getting married, so I won't be living at home anymore." After saying these words, Griff Fu fell silent. After a long while, he asked me with some urgency and annoyance, "When did you find this job? Why didn't you tell me? I could have arranged something for you. Why did you go to another company?" Griff Fu is always like this, pushing me away while refusing to let me go. Just like the slow execution he inflicted on me in my past life. Cut by cut, giving me hope to survive, yet step by step, pushing me toward death. I don't want to experience that feeling a second time. I interrupted his outburst again. "I've grown up now, I can take care of myself, brother." I emphasized the word brother heavily, just to remind Griff Fu that he was the one crossing the line. Griff Fu indeed fell silent, and after a long while, he snorted coldly, "Better be." He immediately added, "Juna Lin and I are hosting a celebration party tonight. You should come too." He sent me an address, and just as I was about to refuse, he snorted and said, "Juna Lin said you're her only friend, and she wants you to witness her happiness with your own eyes. Only then will our marriage be complete. So you must come." Griff Fu and Juna Lin's celebration party was held on a luxury cruise ship in Hong Kong, in my previous life, when my affair with Griff Fu was discovered. He had no choice but to announce our marriage, but he refused to reveal a single word about it to the public. Originally, he didn't even want to register our marriage, and he wasn't even willing to take a single wedding photo with me. Even our wedding was something my family paid a huge price to get him to agree to. But now, on Hong Kong Island, where 15 minutes of fireworks cost millions, he directly booked them for Juna Lin for a full 3 hours. On a luxury cruise ship that can accommodate 1,000 people, he invited all the relatives and friends he could. Having one more of me wouldn't make a difference, and having one less of me wouldn't be noticed either. It's just that Juna Lin specifically called me here to provoke and humiliate me. Joy. Griff is going to propose to me later. Juna Lin smiled and shoved the camera into my hand. Such an important moment. I want you to personally record it for us, as she handed me the camera. She revealed the prayer beads hidden on her wrist. The dark red carved characters on it instantly stung my eyes. This string of prayer beads was something I obtained for Griff Fu by bowing and praying at every step during the year his heart condition was at its most critical. All 108 beads were meticulously carved by me with the characters for peace. To this day, the carvings on the beads are still stained with my blood. Juna Lin's smile grew even more smug. Griff gave it to me. The other day when I was accompanying him to the hot springs, I accidentally got dizzy and bumped my knee on the steps. He said he'd give it to me for protection and peace. After saying that, she deliberately sighed with feigned helplessness. Really, Griff is always making such a big deal out of nothing. I just got a little bruise on my knee, nothing like you. Joy. Back then, to get this string of peace beads, you kowtowed until your knees were scraped raw and you couldn't even stand up. And you still have the after effects to this day. That year, in order to help Griff Fu obtain this string of peace beads, I developed a chronic leg condition, and every time it comes into contact with cold water, it aches to the bone. But Griff Fu probably forgot, after taking photos for them. Juna Lin ran over with a smile to take the camera from my hands, but when no one was looking, she bumped into me. That string of peace beads was instantly accidentally dropped into the sea by her. She said to me with a pitiful tone, "Joy, I know this string of prayer beads was a gift you gave to Brother Griff, and you don't want to pass it on to me, but you worked so hard to obtain these beads. They're so precious. Do you really prefer to throw them away rather than give them to me?" After saying that, she turned to Griff Fu and tentatively added, "You said this string of prayer beads represents peace, but now it's fallen into the sea. Does that mean?" Griff Fu cut her off abruptly. "Don't talk nonsense." Then he lifted his chin and looked at me. "If you break someone else's things, you have to take responsibility. Haven't I taught you that?" Of course he had taught me, and it was a lesson etched deeply into my memory. 3 months ago, Juna Lin and I both entered a competition. Juna Lin deliberately damaged her own work but framed me for it. Griff Fu immediately took the design I had worked on for half a year, sacrificing sleep, and gave it to Juna Lin as compensation, allowing her to win the championship in the design competition. A month ago, Juna Lin intentionally threw the jade pendant she was wearing into the trash. It was clearly a cheap trinket she bought for $10 from a street vendor, yet she pitifully claimed it was a gift from her grandmother before she passed away. Griff Fu clearly knew that my jade pendant was a memorial commissioned by my parents before they died in a car accident, carved for our family of 3. The other 2 were placed in my parents' ashes, and the only remaining one is my sole connection and remembrance of my loved ones in this world. Yet without hesitation, he snatched it away and handed it to Juna Lin, under the disdainful gazes of everyone around me. I finally curled my lips in a self-mocking smile and, with nothing left to lose, lifted my head and said, "As you wish. Shall I go down and fetch it?" Amid the gasps of the crowd, I plunged into the sea with a splash. The icy seawater stung my bones, but it was nothing compared to the pain in my heart at that moment. The dark, heavy water surface was swept by a biting wind, carrying rolling waves crashing toward me. I rose and sank mechanically, numb to the passage of time. until at last the sea grew still. Only then did I hear Griff Fu shout, "Hurry and save them. What are you standing around for?" When I was pulled out of the water, I was still clutching that string of prayer beads. But Griff Fu's face darkened as he snorted coldly. "I knew you hadn't given up. Today is the day Juna Lin and I are celebrating our marriage. Is this your way of seeking attention?" I numbly said, "I'm sorry." At that moment, Juna Lin walked over, smiling as she took the string of Buddhist prayer beads from my hand again. "Joy, thank you for risking your life to help me get the prayer beads back. By the way, I heard from Griff that you're moving out. Can I use your room to display the figurines Griff gave me?" I originally lived in the room next to Griff Fu's, which had the best lighting, but ever since Juna Lin moved in, my room kept getting changed. First, on the same floor, she said she was a light sleeper at night and easily awakened by my movements, so she drove me to the room downstairs. But she still wasn't satisfied, claiming she had nightmares and that a spiritual advisor had warned her that my location would bring her bad luck, so she drove me into the attic. I lived in the attic for nearly half a year, until she said she wasn't used to having someone living above her head and drove me to the most remote storage room. But now, even the storage room is no longer a place for me. I sniffled. "It's fine, it was originally a storage room," Juna Lin added. "I've been learning to do crafts recently. Could you lend me that pair of clay dolls you've hidden under your pillow for me to take a look at?" Hearing this, I looked up and glanced at Griff Fu. That pair of clay dolls was made by Griff Fu himself and given to me a few years ago when we went on a trip together. At that time, he said that pair of dolls represented him and me, symbolizing that he would always be by my side. So, I treasured that pair of dolls as if they were my life. No matter what Griff Fu did to me before, even if I was covered in bruises and cried until my pillow was soaked, as long as I saw that pair of dolls, it felt like there was still hope to keep going. Griff Fu also knew what that pair of dolls meant to me, so he also looked up, meeting my gaze with a complicated expression. I just glanced at him and showed a pale, indifferent smile. "Sure, it's in my brother's room. Help yourself." Juna Lin seized the opportunity to ask, "Then what about your—" I interrupted her indifferently. "No need to ask me. Take whatever you want. Directly, I'm leaving everything to you, including the person who once meant the most to me." Hearing this response, Griff Fu's expression darkened. I took a deep breath and feigned relief. "All right, I've delivered my blessings. It's time for me to go." Under everyone's gaze, I turned and walked away. But at that moment, a sudden image flashed onto the cruise ship's giant display screen. That image made the usually cold and aloof Griff Fu turn pale, and it also left me stunned, frozen in place. It was the scene of Griff Fu and me in the hotel after he got drunk. The timing of the video capture was just right. It didn't capture the moment when I pushed Griff Fu away and handed him over to Juna Lin, so what was ultimately presented to everyone was just the scene of Griff Fu being completely drunk and intimately embracing me in the room. In an instant, everyone's gaze toward me became strange. I clenched my fingers tightly and gritted my teeth, wondering who on earth could. Griff Fu suddenly turned to Juna Lin, tugging at her sleeve and pleading for an explanation. "Juna Lin, this is a misunderstanding. You know everything." Juna Lin then gave him a fake smile, raised her hand with gentlemanly grace, and stroked his hair. "Of course I believe you, but today is our wedding anniversary celebration, and something like this had to happen." She deliberately fixed her gaze on me, and Griff Fu finally caught on. He rushed over in an instant, raised his hand, and slapped me across the face. "Joy Jen, how could you be so disgusting?" A stinging slap landed on my face. It seemed he had used all his strength, causing half of my face to swell up. But none of it compared to the disdainful and contemptuous looks directed at me from all around. "It really is her." I thought she had finally calmed down and changed after learning Griff found true love, but it turns out she was just brewing trouble here. Could she really believe that by secretly filming such a video, she could force Griff to choose her? How despicable. Griff really raised an ungrateful wretch. If only she had died in that car accident with her parents back then. Haha, if I can't have it, I'll destroy it. Such a person is truly terrifying. Ever since I confessed my feelings to Griff Fu at the age of 18, I've lost count of how many sarcastic and mocking remarks I've heard. In the past, knowing I was in the wrong, I would just lie down and take the criticism, using this self-punishing way to atone for my inappropriate feelings toward Griff Fu. But now, I closed my eyes, suppressing the grievances and anger in my heart, and I said, it wasn't me. Before I could finish speaking, Griff Fu slapped me again. You're still lying. If it wasn't you, then who could it be? This time, he hit me so hard that my mouth was bleeding and my ears were ringing. I suddenly remembered the time when I was bullied by thugs, and Griff Fu stood up for me with such authority, saying that no one had ever dared to slap him in his life. But now, he has finally broken his own promise. With red-rimmed eyes, I looked at him brokenly and said, if I had really intended to harm you that day, I wouldn't have handed you over to Juna Lin. After saying this, I suddenly realized something and turned my gaze in shock toward Juna Lin. After all, besides me and Griff Fu, the only one who knew about this was Juna Lin. Griff Fu would definitely not let such a video get out. But why would Juna Lin? At that moment, Juna Lin spoke softly. Griff, it seems Joy really hates us. Because of this statement, everyone instantly thought that I was the one who secretly recorded the video. Deliberately seeking revenge to ruin Griff Fu's reputation, Juna Lin was still questioning me righteously. Joy Jian, Griff has been your childhood friend, yet what have you given her in return? Have you ever considered that Griff is like a brother to you? With such a video circulating, how will people view the Fu family from now on? How can Griff Fu face this situation? Amid her constant provocations, Griff Fu also began walking toward me step by step. He said coldly, Joy Jian, I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Then, don't blame me. He had someone bring a whip and beat me until I was covered in bruises in front of everyone. Then, when there was hardly a patch of unblemished skin left on my body, he had me tied to a rope and thrown into the sea. The bone-chilling seawater surged again, but this time, it carried a strong scent of blood. Nearby sharks were drawn in, 1, 2, 3, until a whole group circled around me. There used to be a saying online that sharks don't eat humans and that people aren't on their menu, but sharks are attracted to the smell of blood and become curious about how humans taste, so they take bite after bite until the person is dead. The will to survive made me clutch the rope tightly. Thrashing desperately in the salty seawater, all around me were only the waves stirred by the sharks' swift attacks, and the chilling touch of death whenever I accidentally brushed against them. When I looked up, I saw Griff Fu standing in the sea spot with Juna Lin, while everyone on the cruise ship looked down at me from above. By the time Griff Fu had his men pull me up again, my legs and arms were bitten with several bloody gashes. Griff Fu had someone call the police, and before I was taken away by the officers, he held Juna Lin's hand and publicly announced to everyone, please don't misunderstand. From now on, I have no relationship with Joy Jian. Juna Lin is the one I've truly chosen. Amid the thunderous applause of the crowd, I was dragged away by a group of police officers. Looking as wretched as a rat scurrying across the street, I heard that in order to force me to talk, Griff Fu specifically gave secret orders to have someone take good care of me in prison. Unfortunately, his clever plan backfired, because I was seriously injured before being imprisoned. The first priority was to ensure that I wouldn't actually die. I was placed in a secret hospital room and unexpectedly met my aunt who had returned to the country to pick me up. Looking at my haggard appearance from the torment, my aunt burst into tears. Joy, it's all my fault. Back when your parents passed away, I was struggling abroad and hadn't established myself yet. I always thought entrusting you to the Fu family was the best choice. Given the friendship between our families and the fact that you and Griff Fu grew up together, now it seems, if I had known earlier, I shouldn't have let you two meet. My heart felt as cold as ashes as I lay on the bed, covered in wounds, but none of them compared to the pain of Griff Fu's torment in my past life. I said faintly, it's okay now, it's all over. The news on the hospital room TV wall was still playing the interview with Griff Fu and Juna Lin. The two of them publicly announced their wedding, to be held on Hong Kong Island in just 3 days. As for why it was so rushed, Griff Fu and Juna Lin mysteriously kept everyone in suspense at the end. We are both firm in our choice of each other and can't wait to become a family as soon as possible, of course. Juna Lin finally added with a deliberately humorous and witty tone, also to prevent certain people with ulterior motives from causing trouble. Watching their interview video and the sweet scene of them smiling at each other, I also forced out a bitter smile. In the end, I turned to my aunt, opened my dry, cracked, and bleeding lips, and asked, Auntie, can you do me a favor? In my previous life, when I saw Juna Lin's body appear in our wedding room, Griff Fu just coldly had someone take care of it, and gently held me in his arms to comfort me. He had been lying low for 7 years just to take revenge on me. In that case, I'll just return this life to him. After all, he and Juna Lin have been constantly claiming that I was raised by the Fu family. My aunt went to the Fu family first, sincerely thanking them on behalf of my family and as an elder for raising me all these years, and then met with Griff Fu alone to offer a sincere apology. Out of respect for my aunt's face, Griff Fu finally agreed to relent and withdrew the charges against me. As for the police, they really couldn't find any evidence linking me to the video that was played on the cruise ship, so in the end, I was acquitted. But to prevent me from disrupting his marriage with Juna Lin again, Griff Fu made another request to my aunt. That was, from then on, I should never appear in front of him again. That night, my aunt arranged for people from a fake death organization for me. She hesitated for a moment and asked me, "Are you sure you want to do this? Do you know that once the plan is implemented, from then on, you can only be a dead person? You will no longer be able to live legitimately under the identity of Joy Jian." I stared at my reflection in the mirror. In just a few days, I had become utterly haggard and worn out. I smiled bitterly and replied, "That's exactly why I have to die." I lifted my head, gazing at the sunlight reflected in the mirror, and let out a soft sigh. The identity and name Joy Jian were given to me by him. Only by dying can I truly be reborn. During those 3 days, I wasn't idle either. Instead, I investigated all the truths related to the hotel incident. First, why was Griff Fu so drunk that he was completely out of it that day? At the Hot Spring Hotel, he was inseparable from Juna Lin all day, leaving no opportunity for outsiders to intervene. On the night he was so drunk he was completely out of it. He had been drinking and soaking in the hot springs with Juna Lin until very late before returning. Second, who exactly was the one who recorded that kind of video at the hotel? If it was arranged by Juna Lin in advance, then when she got Griff Fu drunk, she was already close to succeeding. Why would she leave Griff Fu alone in the room and let my past self suffer such torment? Third, I know Juna Lin. She is selfish and self-centered. And she would never be the type to take pills and commit suicide just because she found out I was marrying Griff Fu. So, why did her body appear at my and Griff Fu's wedding in my past life? In the end, I actually managed to uncover some clues, although the hotel's surveillance footage had long been deleted. During the thunderstorm that night, nearby shop cameras captured Juna Lin, who was supposed to be passionately entangled with Griff Fu in the hotel, sneaking out in a raincoat. It wasn't until the first light of dawn that she stealthily returned. This reminded me of a detail. When I returned to the hotel that morning, I only saw ambiguous red marks all over Griff Fu's body, yet Juna Lin's famously seductive figure showed no traces at all. So, who was the person spending that wild night with Griff Fu in the hotel? Juna Lin went through all the trouble to drive me out of the Fu family, so why is she doing something like this at this critical moment? The more I think about the possible consequences, the more terrified I become. That night, my aunt sent me a video. In the footage, Juna Lin no longer looked as triumphant and glamorous as she does now. Her once neat and clean suit was covered in shoe prints and dust. She knelt on the ground in a disheveled state, kowtowing to someone. When the camera turned to that person's face, all the mysteries instantly became clear. Staring at the scene in the video and the sight of Juna Lin hastily kowtowing to that person, I let out a self-mocking, broken laugh, both in my past life and this one. The 2 lifetimes of stormy love and hatred between me and Griff Fu, I had actually been kept completely in the dark, so, from the very beginning, it was all a trap and a scam they set up. 9. I was college roommates with Juna Lin. Back then, she was a poor student who had just come out of the mountains. And because of her timid personality, she was often bullied. One time, when Griff Fu came to the school to see me, he happened to witness the school's notorious bully, Qin Zhon, stepping on Juna Lin's face, saying she had dirted his shoes, and forcing Juna Lin to crawl through his crotch. It was Griff Fu who saved Juna Lin, and their fate began from that moment. From then on, Juna Lin kept pestering me every day, saying she wanted to meet Griff Fu in person to thank him for saving her life. Back then, she would still put her arm around my shoulder with a helpless expression. "Oh, come on. I know he's your precious idol. I just want to thank him in person. Don't worry, Griff isn't my type." So, with my introduction, she met Griff Fu again, and Juna Lin went from initially just meeting to say thank you to occasionally bumping into Griff Fu for meals, and later, she stood hand in hand with Griff Fu in front of me, rightfully declaring, "Sorry, Joy, Griff and I are together now, as my best sister and the closest person to brother Griff, you should be happy for us, right?" And Qin Zhon has always held a grudge against Griff Fu because of the incident where Griff Fu publicly humiliated him to save Juna Lin. It started with constant difficulties in business, but Griff Fu fiercely countered every one of them. Not only did Qin Zhon fail to gain any advantage, but he also suffered several major setbacks. The conflict between him and Griff Fu grew increasingly intense. Later, he even swore publicly that one day he would crush Griff Fu under his foot, in his previous life. Shortly after Juna Lin's death, Qin Zhon died in the internal power struggle within his family. Therefore, although it seemed that the two had no further connection after graduation, no one could link Juna Lin's death to him. But now, it makes one wonder what kind of deal they have actually struck. Qin Zhon and Juna Lin secretly arranged to meet, and I, wearing a baseball cap, stealthily followed them, amid the dazzling lights, vibrant atmosphere, and noisy music. I saw Juna Lin bowing and scraping as she poured wine for Qin Zhon, reporting something to him. "Master Qin, I have done everything exactly as you instructed. Aren't you supposed to return what you're holding to me? You're not really going to make me marry him, are you?" As she spoke, she completely abandoned her usual gentle and considerate demeanor in front of Griff Fu, her face full of disdain and resistance. "I don't want to spend another day with him. Only someone with your unique taste would dare to get involved with that kind of man." Qin Zhon rested his elbow arrogantly on the back of the sofa, leisurely swirling the red wine in his glass. Hearing this, he glared at Juna Lin. "What do you know? The greatest pleasure for a man is conquest. A man who usually scowls at you during meetings, constantly schemes against you, and targets you in every way, yet now twists and turns beneath you, using every possible posture to please you. Isn't that the most enjoyable thing?" He picked up an envelope from the table and tossed it in front of Juna Lin as if shooing away a begging dog. "You've done well this time, so I'll spare your miserable life for now." But, he paused, as if thinking of something amusing, then licked his lips to taste the wine stain at the corner of his mouth. "Your marriage to Griff Fu will still proceed. At tomorrow's wedding, I'm going to give you both a grand gift." 10. Griff Fu and Juna Lin's wedding was a grand affair. After all, she was marrying the person she truly loved. In the photos exposed by the media, Griff Fu's face was beaming with a radiant smile. Due to Griff Fu's ban, I was unable to attend her wedding. My aunt didn't show up either. Instead, in the hotel, she looked at my battered and injured state, her heart aching so much that tears kept falling. "Auntie, I'm sorry I'm late. It's all my fault. I'll take you with me right now. And we won't come back again. And I won't be attending Griff Fu's wedding either." She stroked my hair and finally added, "The marriage I arranged for you is a good one. That young man has liked you since childhood, and he will be very happy when you meet him abroad." I pulled apart my dry, pale lips and gave a bitter smile. Looking like this, who would want me? But my aunt kept me in suspense. "This young man, even if it cost him his life, he would still like you. You'll understand once you meet him. After all, the Jen and Fu families have been close for generations. Even if Aunt didn't plan to show up for Griff Fu's marriage, she still had to inform them. But she accidentally got my phone number. The moment the call went through, Griff Fu's impatient voice came from the other end. "Joy Jen, can you stop being so annoying? Don't you know what day it is today? Juna Lin and I are about to get married. Why are you still not giving up? Didn't you learn enough from the previous lesson?" This familiar and detestable accusation made me lower my eyes in gloom, but my aunt immediately turned cold-faced. "Griff Fu, back when I wanted to take Joy abroad, you were the one who said you could take good care of her. Is this how you've been taking care of her?" Unexpectedly, the person on the other end of the call was my aunt. Catching Griff Fu off guard, she opened her mouth to speak but remained silent for a long time. My aunt sneered. "Don't worry, once Joy leaves this time, she will never come back. You will never see her again." Griff Fu's breath hitched as he asked, "What do you mean?" To avoid my aunt arguing with Griff Fu and exposing our plan, I quickly snatched back the phone and spoke to her in a hoarse voice. "Griff Fu, if you still trust me, if you still care even a little about our past relationship, then listen to my warning. Cancel the wedding. Do not marry Juna Lin under any circumstances. But Griff Fu urgently pressed, what did you mean by that last sentence? What do you mean that if you leave this time, I'll never see you again? Joy Jian, do you really have to seek attention this way? She sneered coldly. Originally, I was thinking that after things calm down in a while and you've properly reflected on your mistakes, I'd go abroad with Juna Lin to talk to you. But now it seems there's no need for that. Her red lips slowly uttered a sentence. I'll just assume you died out there. Even though I had already decided to leave, the pain still brought me to tears. I quickly raised my hand to pinch the corners of my eyes, suppressing all the breakdown and bitterness. Finally, I said to her, Griff Fu, then I'll do as you wish, as expected. A shocking upheaval occurred at Griff Fu's wedding. First, on Qin Zhon's side. Right in the middle of Griff Fu's wedding ceremony, when all the media were holding up their cameras to capture her happiest moment, Qin Zhon jumped onto the stage and announced that he wanted to put on a performance. Qin Zhon is Griff Fu's arch-nemesis and the person she despises the most. He definitely didn't come to the wedding with good intentions, and Griff Fu certainly wasn't going to give him a chance to show off or ruin the event. But Qin Zhon blinked his eyes and said faintly, it's just a little surprise. You'll regret it for the rest of your life if you miss this. Griff Fu opened his mouth to say something more, but then a memory flashed in his mind of me repeatedly urging him to cancel the wedding. Vaguely, he had a bad feeling. While she was lost in thought, Qin Zhon had already started his performance on his own. He held a public auction, and the item being auctioned was the underwear of Griff Fu from that night. The moment they saw that pair of underwear, the guests began to murmur and discuss, unable to make sense of it. Griff Fu stood frozen in shock, his entire body trembling, his face as pale as a sheet of paper. She instinctively glanced at Juna Lin, who stood beside her dressed in a sharp suit playing the role of the groom, biting her lips so hard it nearly bled from the trembling. Juna Lin naturally had no idea what was happening, and still wore that deeply affectionate expression as he asked her, what's wrong, Griff? It's just an ordinary pair of underwear. Qin Zhon is deliberately trying to cause trouble. Let's just ignore him. And still, the next moment, a sharp slap landed on her face. Amid the gasps of the crowd, Griff Fu demanded hoarsely, tell me what happened. In his previous life, Qin Zhon and Juna Lin had already initiated this plan, but because of my appearance, a series of misunderstandings disrupted their scheme. In this life, when Griff Fu woke up, he didn't notice his missing clothes, but at the time he didn't think much of it, assuming they were lost somewhere during the intense events of that night. But now, such a private item of his has ended up in Qin Zhon's hands, and at his wedding, it was publicly displayed and put up for auction. Then, there are only two possibilities. First, Juna Lin is in collusion with Qin Zhon, and he gave the item to Qin Zhon. Second, the person that night was not Juna Lin. Griff Fu felt a chill running through his body. He didn't dare to think any further. On stage, Qin Zhon looked at the scene with great satisfaction. He licked his lips meaningfully and said with a hint of lingering interest, Boss Fu, I left in such a hurry that night. I didn't have time to return your things. Since it's your wedding day today, how about, should I give it to you as a wedding gift, or would you rather bid for it, and I'll take the money as a gift? Realizing the implication behind his words, Griff Fu was nearly driven mad. Impossible. This can't be. The wedding guests were also in an uproar. After all, Griff Fu had always been the epitome of a cold, aloof male god, having fought his way through the business world for years. The only thing that could make him lose his composure like this was, everyone held their breath, not daring to entertain that possibility any further. Juna Lin also realized Qin Zhon's plan and was immediately thrown into a panic. She rushed forward and shouted at Qin Zhon, you promised me, as long as I helped you accomplish this, you would let me go. How can you go back on your word? Qin Zhon chuckled lightly and said leisurely, I only promised to give you the photos in my possession, but I never said I wouldn't bring up what happened at the hotel that night. He glanced triumphantly at Griff Fu. As for what the photos in my possession are, and why they could easily make Juna Lin comply, Mr. Fu, don't you want to know? No one could figure it out, and even I didn't quite understand. After all, Griff Fu loved Juna Lin so much that as long as she casually mentioned it, gifts worth tens of millions. And even the newly built skyscrapers of the Fu Group could be named after her. What else did she need to curry favor with Qin Zhon for, however? What Qin Zhon exposed next turned the marriage between Griff Fu and Juna Lin into a complete and utter joke. In the photo was a dilapidated small mountain village, where a young man around 18 or 19 years old was holding an infant still in swaddling clothes. Standing right beside him was none other than Juna Lin herself. At this moment, the whole truth came to light. Juna Lin actually had a husband and child in the past. Her hometown was a poor, small mountain village where people married early, and Juna Lin was no exception. Before she went to the city for college, her family had already arranged a marriage for her, and she soon had a child. But after meeting Griff Fu, in order to attach herself to this wealthy woman, she completely severed all ties with her family. The young man who married her was tricked by her sweet words into thinking they could live a good life as a family of three. Little did he expect that Juna Lin would sell both him and their child, who was not even a year old, to human traffickers. It was after discovering this evidence that Qin Zhon made Juna Lin obey him. Poor Griff Fu was kept in the dark in his previous life and even wanted to hold a grudge against me for life because of such a woman. Juna Lin panicked, her usually gentle and pleasant expression turning ferocious. Qin Zhon, you promised you would give me the photos. How can you go back on your word? Qin Zhon shamelessly laughed and said, I did give them to you, but I never said I wouldn't make extra copies of the photos. Besides, he clicked his tongue disapprovingly, even a vicious tiger doesn't eat its own cubs. A beast like you, who abandons his lover and even sells his own son just to climb the social ladder and latch onto a rich woman. Exposing you is simply upholding justice, isn't it? Faced with this situation, Griff Fu also went mad. He lunged forward and slapped Juna Lin again, his crimson pupils trembling. How dare you? How dare you? Do you know the price of betraying and deceiving me? Seeing her crimes exposed, Juna Lin simply stopped pretending. She tore off the bride corsage pinned to her chest and let out a disdainful snort from between her lips. Give it a rest. I've endured the disgust to play along with your act until now. You should be satisfied, shouldn't you? Do you think I don't know, from start to finish? You've only used me as a tool to provoke Joy Jen, to drive her away. You kept convincing yourself that the one you like is me. After deceiving yourself for so long, you couldn't possibly really believe you're in love with me, could you? Juna Lin let out a few hysterical cold laughs, then narrowed her eyes and sneered. If that were really the case, why would I go to such lengths to deal with her? Search your heart and ask yourself, who is the person you truly love? This sentence directly stunned Griff Fu. After the truth came to light, recalling what he had done to me, he immediately staggered on the stage and fell to the ground in a humiliating heap. He gasped for breath in large, difficult gulps, tears welling up in his eyes as he murmured, Joy Jen. How could I possibly like her? At this point, who Griff Fu truly liked no longer mattered. On stage, Juna Lin was like a madwoman who had suddenly erupted after long suppressed emotions. She continued to scream hysterically, I'm young and capable. If it weren't for the money, if it weren't because Joy Jen likes you, and I didn't want to lose to her, why would I have gotten close to you? I deliberately targeted and bullied Joy Jen. So what? Only by driving her away could you obediently listen to me and give me all your money. Who told her to always stand in the way and be an eyesore? Griff Fu was in tears, tightly covering his ears. Please stop, I'm begging you to stop. Juna Lin snorted triumphantly. For your sake, I've abandoned my own husband and children. I've been enduring the disgust every day, flattering you and coaxing you. I've been struggling and trying so hard. Okay, but what about you? What have you done? That video from the cruise ship that night. I was the one who secretly filmed and released it. I just wanted money. I didn't want to marry you. I thought you would have some self-awareness. After such a video was exposed, you would call off our engagement, and I could seize the chance to escape. I could also make you hate Joy Jen for life. But I never expected you to be so ruthless. She stepped closer to Griff Fu, looking down at him as she declared, You were the one who threw Joy Jen into the sea to feed the sharks. You were the one who called the police to arrest her and even ordered people to take good care of her. Griff Fu, do you really think that by doing all this, you can make me believe, or make yourself believe, that what you feel for Joy Jen is hatred, disgust, and not even a trace of emotion? Griff Fu lowered his head in pain. Stop it. But Juna Lin suddenly grabbed Griff Fu's wrist and roared. Then why did you secretly visit her in the hospital without telling anyone? Why did you hide from everyone and cry when you saw how injured she was, Griff Fu? I'm afraid even this wedding was part of your plan to convince yourself and force Joy Jian to leave, wasn't it? Griff Fu finally erupted in fury. He abruptly shook off Juna Lin's hand and slapped her across the face with a sharp crack. I told you to stop talking. Did you hear me or not? His eyes widened in a flash of shock, followed by a stunned silence, and then he choked back a sob and closed his eyes. You're right, I do like Joy. Amid the silence and shock of everyone, Griff Fu trembled, his pupils shaking as he slowly peeled back the deepest secrets of his heart, because I was afraid of ruining her, ruining myself. So I kept running away, pushing her away again and again by hurting her. He slumped weakly to the ground, murmuring, "It was me who convinced myself that the one I liked was you. It was me who told myself over and over that I only felt disgust for Joy Jian, that I should reject and push her away." But in the end, he lifted his head, his handsome face streaked with tears. "I really like her." 13. The sound of police sirens arrived, and Juna Lin was taken away. The grand wedding that the two had performed in front of everyone thus became the biggest joke, but Griff Fu didn't seem to care at all. She murmured under her breath, "The person I like is Joy Jian. I'm going to find her. I'm going to tell her that I like her." She removed her veil and, under everyone's gaze, walked step by step toward the wedding entrance. At that moment, a group of people carrying a coffin blocked her path. Griff Fu instantly froze in place. He murmured and asked, "Who is this?" After learning my name, he hysterically roared, "Impossible! You're lying to me. All of you are lying to me." He stumbled and staggered to the front of the coffin, muttering, "How could Joy Jian possibly be dead?" She said she would protect me for a lifetime. The staff of the suspended animation facility lowered their eyes and replied in a well-trained manner, "It was you who said, just act as if she died out there. Miss Jian also told you, as you wished." Recalling that previous phone call, Griff Fu's body shuddered, then began to tremble uncontrollably with disbelief. He stared fixedly at the coffin, his lips parting as he stammered, I. Under the relentless blows, his face grew increasingly pale, and he clutched his chest tightly. The next moment, he burst into loud sobs and threw himself recklessly against the coffin. With a loud bang, his forehead was covered in blood, and the coffin tilted uncontrollably, causing the body inside to fall out. It was a charred corpse, burned beyond recognition, making it impossible to identify the original appearance. The staff from the suspended animation agency continued, "Miss Jian set herself on fire this morning at the Xinghua Villa." They handed an envelope to Griff Fu. "This is the only thing Miss Jian left for you." The envelope opened, and a crystal star fell out. Seeing the appearance of that star, Griff Fu froze in place, finally understanding why I had chosen that place. Xinghua Villa was once where my parents lived. After they passed away, the company faced bankruptcy and closure. Our former home was also sealed off and auctioned by the bank. It was Griff Fu who couldn't bear to see me lose my home full of memories. So he spent a fortune to buy the house at auction and gave it to me. When I was 18, I created a starry sky there. I inlaid the ceiling of the villa with crystals of various colors. That was the starry universe I gave to Griff Fu. I still remember Griff Fu standing dazed in the living room, looking up at the starry sky as the light shifted, moved to the point of tears, and the star I left for her was one he personally embedded that day. This is also the star I gave to Joy. It's the brightest star in the Big Dipper. In ancient times, people used it to determine direction, just like me for Joy. No matter where Joy goes in the future, who she meets, or what experiences she has, when she sees this star, she will always find her way home. But now, I've returned his star to her, and I no longer need him. Griff Fu held the crystal star tightly in his hand, so tightly that its sharp edges cut his palm. "I hurt you too deeply. Would you rather die than stay with me?" He looked up to the sky and let out a sorrowful laugh for a while, then finally couldn't hold back and spat out a mouthful of blood, collapsing unconscious on the ground. While the domestic news was causing a stir, my aunts and my flight landed in a foreign country. There, I met the arranged marriage partner my aunt had mentioned, who had liked me for a long time. The moment I saw Bai Chen, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Bai Chen and I were elementary school classmates. Back then, he was in poor health and always seemed to be sick. Other kids our age didn't want to play with him, and at school, most of his classmates bullied him. I was the one who stood in front of him time and again, protecting him. Because of that, Bai Chen developed feelings for me. During college, he once came to confess his feelings to me, but I turned him down. Later, Griff Fu also rejected him on my behalf, because he didn't want personal relationships to interfere with my studies and future. After that, Bai Chen was taken abroad by his parents. Before leaving, he came to say goodbye to me with red, tear-filled eyes. He said his parents had arranged a new marriage partner for him abroad, and that the other person was a very good match. He said he knew I liked Griff Fu, and he had completely let me go, so he sincerely wished me to achieve my wish. But now, looking at him standing quietly in front of me, I felt a moment of dizziness. It seemed as if in the past, he had deceived me with some kind of well-intentioned lie. At that moment, Bai Chen smiled at me and said, "Joy, I did deceive you. I'm not married, and there's no such person as a marriage partner. It's just that I knew you liked Mr. Fu and didn't want to put you in a difficult position." So, as he spoke, he looked at the crisscrossing scars on my body, and his eyes instantly reddened. His trembling hand caressed the hideous scar on my arm left by a shark bite, and tears finally streamed down his face. "I thought I was securing your happiness. I thought I could fulfill your wishes. Joy, why did he treat you like that? Why, didn't you ever think of coming to me?" Facing Bai Chen, who is now crying like this, I finally understand what my aunt meant. The young man I was set up with in the marriage arrangement loves me as if his life depends on it. Even if he were to die, he would still love me. I sighed and gave him a bitter smile. It's all in the past. I have also let go of the past and am determined to start my new life. I told Bai Chen everything that happened domestically and arranged a new identity for myself abroad. From now on, I am no longer Joy Jen, but my aunt's adopted daughter. I will return to everyone's sight as the new heiress of the Shen family. Bai Chen, however, seemed hesitant and worried. The domestic matters probably can't be kept secret for long. I knew I couldn't keep it hidden for long. After all, the plan itself had many flaws and loopholes. With Griff Fu's connections, once he recovers, he will definitely investigate the identity of the person who carried the coffin into the wedding venue. If I had really died, my aunt wouldn't have hastily arranged to go abroad without even inquiring about my funeral arrangements. But even if he finds out, even if he chases after me abroad, what can he really do? In this vast world, not everything can be undone, and I won't spare him another glance. Hearing my decision, Bai Chen's face flushed red. He quietly took my hand, biting his lip. "Joy, I know you don't have feelings for me right now, but I can wait. When you've completely forgotten about Mr. Fu and are willing to accept me, let's be together. I am with Bai Chen now. He is a wonderful young man who will quietly smile while watching me work busily. When I am tired and weary, he will bring me a warm, fragrant cup of tea and a box of sweet cakes he made himself. The things I give him, even if it's just a bookmark handed to him casually, he will carefully treasure. When I was sick and feeling unwell, he would stay up all night taking care of me, even with his own frail and ailing body. When I woke up in the early morning and saw him sleeping soundly by my bedside, the warm sunlight streaming through the gaps in the curtains and falling gently on his face, so peaceful and beautiful. There were many moments when I, too, was lost in thought, wondering how wonderful it would be if life could always be like this, and as expected, the course of events domestically unfolded just as we had predicted. It wasn't long before Griff Fu discovered that the body that had self-immolated at the wedding that day was not mine. Those people are from a fake death agency, specializing in helping others fake their deaths to escape. Also, our investigation revealed that on the same flight as Aunt Shen that day, there was a young woman who resembled Miss Jen. When the blurry surveillance screenshot from the airport was placed in front of Griff Fu, his tears fell once again. These past few days, he had nearly driven himself insane. The incident with Qin Zhon at the hotel was exposed, and even if he ignored the gossip outside, he couldn't get past his own conscience, so he kept locking himself in the room to shower, scrubbing his body harshly, until his fair skin was rubbed raw and bleeding, as if doing so could wash away all the filth on his body. He hadn't been to the company for several days either. Those who had been eyeing the Fu Corporation with covetous intentions all seized the opportunity to strike, causing the stock prices to plummet. The entire company was on the verge of collapse, and a storm of bloodshed and turmoil raged outside. But Griff Fu didn't care about any of it. He only wanted to know whether the person who died at the wedding that day was really me. Even if there was only a glimmer of hope, he refused to give up. So, when Griff Fu learned that I was still alive, his first reaction wasn't anger at being deceived, but tears of joy. He covered his face, almost kneeling on the carpet. I knew it. Joy wouldn't die. The heavens wouldn't dare take her away. He wanted to fly abroad to find me, but his assistant hesitated for a moment and reminded him, President Fu, the company has been very unstable lately. Everyone is waiting for you to come back and take charge. Don't you think it's time to? But Griff Fu interrupted him hoarsely. In this world, no one is more important than joy. Those material things, if lost, can be earned back. But if joy is gone, he raised his bloodshot eyes, holding the necklace hanging around his neck. Inside the pendant beneath the necklace was a photo of us together. In the past, I cared too much about what others thought, too much about those external judgments, which is why I lost joy. Now, I've finally gotten her back after so much struggle. If I miss this chance again, I will surely die. To come abroad and see me. Griff Fu made a lot of preparations. He was wearing the clothes I had specially designed for him when I was 18. The string of Buddhist prayer beads that had fallen into Juna Lin's hands had long been thrown away by her. Griff Fu directly offered a reward of 100 million, mobilizing the entire city to search through every trash can and garbage station, and eventually, they were found. It is said that on the day the prayer beads were recovered, Griff Fu held them in his hands and wept uncontrollably. I always knew we were destined by fate. I was able to recover the prayer beads, and I will recover you too. Even before setting off, he personally cooked, cutting several of his fingers, to make my favorite pastries. But he never expected that after finally coming abroad to see me, what he witnessed was my marriage to Bai Chen. Seeing me standing at the wedding venue in a wedding dress, Griff Fu was completely stunned, just as I was about to place the wedding ring on Bai Chen's hand. I heard him let out a heart-wrenching cry, Joy Jen, you can't marry him. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw his shocked, broken eyes reddening, and his tightly clenched jaw trembling slightly. The sudden appearance of such a person at the wedding venue caused the guests to point and whisper among themselves. In the past, Griff Fu cared the most about face and reputation, which was why when I confessed my feelings to him at 18, he was so shocked and humiliated that he nearly beat me to death. But now, he disregarded everything and walked toward me step by step. Joy Jen, you said you would only like me in this lifetime. You said even if you died, you wouldn't give up on liking me. So why? He glanced at Bai Chen, who was wearing formal attire and holding my hand with our fingers interlocked, and asked in a broken voice, but now you're going to marry him. The next moment, my aunt stepped in front of him and sighed, Mr. Fu, today is my goddaughter's wedding day. Please show some self-respect. Griff Fu let out a bitter, sorrowful laugh. Self-respect. In the past, I was too self-respecting, which is why I refused to acknowledge Joy's love and why I ended up losing her. But now, I don't care about anything anymore. I don't care about anything at all. His gaze swept past my aunt's shoulder, locking directly with mine, and he murmured, I only want joy. Even if it costs me my life. The aunt had no choice but to persuade him again. Joy is already dead. The one getting married today is my adopted daughter. Griff Fu, however, gritted his teeth and roared, You're lying. That is clearly Joy. I've spent over 10 years with her day and night. How could I possibly not recognize her? He then turned to me and asked with a choked voice, Joy Jen, search your heart and ask yourself, who are you really? Can you really stand in front of everyone and say that you are not Joy Jen, and that you don't know me at all? Seeing Griff Fu appear, Bai Chen felt a moment of tension and instinctively tightened his grip on my hand. I patted him reassuringly and smiled at him. After all, it has to be resolved sooner or later. Anyway, I also want to completely put the past behind me and come to you with a clear conscience. I also walked towards Griff Fu. Seeing me approach, he had a moment of delight, thinking I had changed my mind. But the next moment, I stopped beside my aunt and said to him from a distance, Do you know why I staged that scene back in the country? Griff Fu eagerly and joyfully replied, I know, of course I know. You wanted me to see my own heart clearly, and now I understand everything. The person I like is you. The one I've chosen is you, he pleaded with a tearful voice. Joy, I'm willing to let go of everything. Let's start over. Okay, but I laughed mockingly. It was something I had once dreamed of, something I would have given my life for without hesitation. Now it stands before me, begging humbly, but I no longer want it. Griff Fu, you're wrong. The reason I died in this country is because I wanted to start over. The old Joy Jian is dead, along with all the love and hate from back home, sealed away in the past. And now, I glanced back at Bai Chen, who was standing on the stage in formal attire, and smiled as I said, I have a future that belongs to me. Griff Fu, of course, wouldn't believe that I had fallen for someone else. After all, I loved him too deeply before, so even when I stopped loving him, it seemed like a deliberate lie. Joy, you must be lying to me. How could you not like me? I get it now. You're still angry about what happened back home, punishing me, trying to provoke me, right? Griff Fu took one last glance at Bai Chen, then reached out his hand to me again. No matter how you treat me, it's fine. Do not marry him. Give me a chance to make it right, and give us a chance to start over. Bai Chen and I completed our wedding under the watchful eyes of Griff Fu. When I put the ring on Bai Chen, he could still hold himself together, deceiving himself in his heart that Bai Chen was someone I had brought in, that this wedding was just a false drama, surely a facade I had arranged to pursue him. When Bai Chen and I shared a sweet kiss amid the blessings of our relatives and friends, he was still deceiving himself. It's all fake, all a lie. To deceive him, to make his heart ache. I could actually go this far. It was just acting. What does a kiss even matter? He just stood there, frozen. Until the wedding ended and I got into the car with Bai Chen to return to our bridal suite. That night, it rained heavily. Griff Fu stood guard at the villa's entrance, staring blankly at the lit window on the second floor. Until that light went out, he fainted and was taken to the hospital. At the hospital, I went to see Griff Fu for the last time. Griff Fu wept with joy, tightly holding my hand. Joy, I knew you wouldn't be so heartless to me, but I coldly shook off his hand. I'm not here to see you this time. I tossed out a stack of newspapers, all filled with news of Griff Fu causing a scene at my wedding abroad. If you still don't understand, let me be even more straightforward. I no longer like you. To me now, you are nothing but a stranger. The person I truly love and have chosen is my husband. But your actions have caused serious disruption to our lives. I don't want my husband to worry, and as his wife, I owe him an explanation. So, please don't come looking for me anymore. With those words, Griff Fu was left standing there, utterly stunned as if being cut to pieces. He cried directly, shaking his head incessantly. Why? Are you taking revenge on me, just because I hurt you, so you're pushing me away in the same way? I looked down at him from above and finally sighed. You're wrong. No matter how much you hurt me before, I never left because I loved you too much. But now, I showed a smile and murmured, I want to love myself, so I'm leaving you. Griff Fu, think about how I used to be. I don't want to treat you that way, but if you remain stubborn, you'll turn yourself into that kind of person. After that, I never saw Griff Fu again. Having just arrived abroad, there are many things I need to readjust to, and the company my aunt entrusted to me is keeping me overwhelmingly busy. Whenever I have a bit of spare time, I spend it sweetly with my husband, cherishing these rare moments of our newlywed life. I won't let unnecessary people ruin the mood anymore. Griff Fu came to see me many times, his body covered with crisscrossing whip marks and even stab wounds that left bloody holes. Joy Jian, I've repaid everything I owed you. You should be satisfied now. Because the scene was too horrifying, the police took him away, and I requested that he be banned from entering the country on the grounds of harassment. Just like that, Griff Fu was driven away. I heard that after returning to the country, the Fu group didn't last long before going bankrupt. The Fu family's property was confiscated, and now Griff Fu is like a homeless stray dog. Griff Fu couldn't accept this reality and directly stabbed a knife into his own stomach. Out of regard for our past relationship, I arranged for him to receive treatment at a domestic mental hospital. A few months later, I received a notification from the hospital director saying that Griff Fu had escaped from the mental hospital during the night. By the time he was found, he had already stopped breathing. He died in the Xinghua villa, which had turned into a pile of ruins. When he was found, he was clutching a star tightly in his hand, the very one I had returned to him before I went abroad. Mr. Fu has no relatives left in the country. Would you like to come back and arrange his funeral? Listening to the voice on the other end of the phone, I stared blankly at the brilliantly lit night sky outside the window. My heart filled with mixed emotions, and finally said, "There's no need. Find a burial plot and lay him to rest." Outside the study came the sound of hurried footsteps. It must be that Bai Chen had also heard the news from back home. He pushed the door open and called out anxiously, "Joy." I turned around, looked at him, and a faint smile spread across my face as I softly reassured him. "It's all in the past now." Bai Chen froze for a moment, then instantly understood. His eyes reddened, and he threw himself into my arms. The soft light gently fell, illuminating us in each other's embrace. At this moment, the peace and happiness we had gained after so many hardships felt especially precious, making us cherish it all the more.